In 2019, the UN Special Rapporteur on Minority Issues conducted for the first time regional forums as a part of the preparation for the annual UN Minority Forum in Geneva. At these regional forums in Asia, Europe, and Middle East and Africa, he had dialogue with minority representatives, state representatives, and scholars, asking them how can the UN help protect the human rights of linguistic minorities in your region.
I think one of the surprises that I have had is the emphasis that everyone has made on that this is an important issue for them. I think also what has surprised me is that this is not more widely recognized. There hasn't been within the UN system a huge amount of discussion on the significance of providing education in the language of minorities until this year. And so it surprises me to see that on the ground, whether it is in Europe, Asia, or Africa and the Middle East, there are so many people who say this is actually extremely important for us. And yet at the United Nations, perhaps we've been a bit slow to respond to that. So in a sense, I was surprised by the reality on the ground, where we emphasize that this is extremely important. And the fact that it has taken so long for us at the United Nations to actually respond or try to understand how we can actually better protect the rights of minorities in the area of their language and education.
The first regional forum took place in Brussels in the building of the European Parliament, gathering around 200 participants. Among them were national minorities that have been victims of harsh assimilation policies in the past. The forum discussed various models that may help protect their right to learn and use their mother tongue in education, while also learning the official language.
The focus under such an approach would not be on whether provisions are being formally fulfilled, but on whether the state practices and policies are actually producing the outcomes that they're meant to produce. In the case of minorities, it's fine that we have commitments, but when we take a look at policy, are minority languages actually being preserved and promoted?
Even in rich countries like Sweden, we know that even when money is available, the will to promote minority rights is not existent.
It may be, I'm not sure, but it may be one of the first times that we have, under the same roof, representatives of the UNHCR, the OHCHR, the European Commission, the European Parliament, and MEPs, members of the European Parliament, UNESCO, the Advisory Committee of the Council of Europe's Framework Convention for the Protection of National Minorities, and the Committee of Experts of the European Charter for Regional or Minority Languages, and members of non-governmental organizations to address issues surrounding the human rights of minorities. I think that's worth a round of applause.
Being a minority myself, I have always found participation as a foundational minority right very, very important. But so these regional forums are an implementation, in fact, of a foundational minority rights. Why? Since they secure access to participate in the elaboration and implementation of international rights locally.
The Asia Forum took place in Bangkok at the Mahidol University.
Welcome to the first Asia-Pacific Regional Forum on Education, Language, and the Human Rights of Minorities. There has been some outstanding work that has been done here, but what has been perhaps less explored and less explained is the connection between minority languages in education with international human rights standards, international human rights obligations.
The government apply two curriculum. One is a national curriculum and the second is local curriculums. But the issue is, because everyone have the right to move from one place to another place, maybe following their parents because the job is moved to other province, for example, then the kids need to study in the school where their parents living. So when the school apply the local language that different with their local language, then they become, have difficulties.
If you teach somebody a population of 20,000 or 80,000 people the emotive issue of language as an identity, it's great. But they will not get the kind of jobs in the larger Indian market.
There are many minorities communities, they actually are not speaking their own native language in their own home too, and the children actually are not being able to, because of the dominance of the dominant language, I think so, because they are not that much interested, not by the dominance of the state, but they themselves are not speaking their own language.
It will be better if it's like a curriculum should be present in their own culture, and poems and stories of their own culture thing. That will be better for them. It's a good model, I think so.
Myanmar government they said they are going to implement the teaching of the mother tongue language, but which is outside of the class hours, not integrated in the curriculum. But in the Kachin Independence Organization area, students they learn with their mother tongue.
Many governments honestly think that only having one language for education for everyone in the country is the best approach. It's not. This is what you've been hearing yesterday and today, but this is also what we need to clarify, to explain why is it not the best approach for everyone. And from there try to improve the government's understanding and application of human rights, because we are talking about issues of human rights.
The Special Rapporteur also attended some national workshops, like the one in Erbil in Iraqi Kurdistan.
اللغة المندائية لم تذكر في اليونسكو، مع العلم أن اللغة المندائية هي لغة قديمة جدا وغارقة في القدم. نتمنى أن تدرس طبعا في المدارس العراقية. الآن هي فقط في الكلية تدريس اللغة المندائية.
بالنسبة للشبك عندنا اللغة الشبكية، فهذه اللغات أولا بالدستور العراقي ما مذكور أو بصراحة اسم الشبك بالمادة 125 وكذلك بالمادة الرابعة الخاصة باللغات. فبالحالة نحن في حقوق التعليم اللغة تبدي تندثر وتنقرض نتيجة الاختلاط أو الهجرة، فهناك نحتاج أنه يكون التعليم على الأقل لأطفال في الروضة. نحن لا نقول مثلا للدراسة في الابتدائية أو المتوسط كذا، ولكن على الأقل تغليب لغة الأم لأطفال الصغار في رياض الأطفال.
The Regional Forum for Middle East and Africa took place in Tunis.
To what extent can we consider enhancing the right of teaching language of minority to enhance identity is a threat to national texture of identity? So in this case, how can you help us as a special rapporteur if the state is reluctant to react to such a demand?
I think the way to answer that is to show in a positive way that in fact teaching in a minority language is an effective way of guaranteeing national unity.